Hey guys, welcome. Today's topic is localizing PCF controls. What does that actually mean? When you have installed multiple languages in your CDS environment, you want your control to translate the text used in it to a user-defined language. So let's take a look. In this video, we will look at how to update your manifest file to support localization. Then we would look at how to quickly add any language using RESX files and translate the contents within it. So let's get started. I have initialized my PCF project using PCF builder's force command. And what it does is it gives you a boilerplate project, which would have CSS files, images, and strings. And strings is where you would have all of your RESX files, which are used for localization. And the references of all these files are added into the control manifest file. So as you can see, the 1033, which is the English US language, is added in the resources, and the file exists under strings. Now, when you already have a PCF builder extension on your Visual Studio Code, it's easy to add new resource files. So let's go and add resource file for other languages. Now, to do that, you have to right click the strings folder and you would see a command, which is PCF builder add new RESX file, and you click on it, which would give you list of all the languages. Now in this demo, I'm going to use French. And what is it doing is it's running the PCF generator command, which was built by Ivan, and that would add a new RESX file under strings folder, and the 1036 is corresponding to the French language, and it would also update the control manifest file with the reference. So now you can see that it forcefully updated the control manifest file. So now you can see that there's an entry for 1036 file. Let's go and add one more RESX file for Spanish. And there you go. So 3082 is the Spanish file that was added, and it got added under strings, and also the reference got added into the control manifest file. Now, let's go and open 1033 file and look at how it's structured. So you can skip all this content and go to the bottom of the file where you will see the data tag. And data tag is where you would be concentrating your contents. Okay, so because this is a template provided by the PCF generator, it would always have these two tags, one for control display name and one for control description key, which we need to change based on our naming conventions. Okay, so let's do that. So let's open up our control manifest file, and today I'm going to create a character counter control. Now I'm not actually going to create it. I'm just going to showcase how to use the RESX file. So I won't be writing any logic for the character counter. Instead, I would be just displaying how to use the resource file, RESX files. Okay. So in order to use that, first what we need to do is define keys on the things that we want to use in our localization file. So I want to change my display name to show the display name according to the localization file. Same goes with the description and even for the property. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the same name that we have on the display name, but append it with display key. So this is going to be my key that I'm going to use in my localization file. Same goes for description as well. Underscore DESC key. Okay. Now I'm going to define my property, and you could have multiple properties, but in this demo, I'm going to just create one property, and I'm going to call it as character counter value. That's going to be my property, but my display name is going to be, let's do this, character counter display key and character counter DSC key. Okay, so that's how my manifest file would look like with keys in it. Okay, so my display name would have a key, my description would have a unique identifier, and it could be anything that you want. And same goes for my property, and same goes for my description of the property. Now, when you go to RESX file, and let's just concentrate on 1033 for now. So let's go on 1033, which is English US. And as I said before, you have this data tag, which we want to modify. And on the data tag, you would have an attribute called as name. And this is a very crucial attribute where we need to define our keys. And these keys are coming from the manifest file. So this manifest file where we define the key for my character counter control display key, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that on the first data tag, and the description key would go on the second one. For now, I'm not going to put anything in the value. I'm going to put that later on. And what I want is I want one more data tag, two more data tag. One for my properties display name, and second one for my properties description. Okay, so I have my controls display name and description, and properties display and description. Okay, that's how I have configured my RESX file. Now in the RESX file, I have to specify a value. So my display name would be my character counter control, and the description would be the control that will count the number of characters in a given text. Okay, so that is what my value will be on the description. Same goes with my display name. My display name on the property would be character counter attribute, and my description will be field that will contain the text. Okay, so I've defined my data in my resource files, in my RESX files, in my localization files. Same, we have to do it on 1036 and 3082. But in 1036 and 3082, the values would be different. It would be based on the language. Now there's an easy way of doing it. So let's just copy this entire thing and head over to 1036 and just paste it as is. Don't worry about changing the value right now. Okay, we'll come back to that later. And then going back to 3082, same thing. Paste it as is. Don't worry about changing the text. Okay, so now we have our 1036 and 3082 also defined with the proper keys. Now we want, because 1036 is French and 3082 is Spanish, we want the values to reflect those languages. So to do that, you have to install an extension called Visual Studio Google Translate. Now the link to this extension will be provided in the description of this video. So look for it. Now this is a very cool extension which lets you translate the text, the selected text, into whatever language you want. Okay, but how to do that? So in the 1036, let's select the text. So to do that, you have to hold down the Alt key and select the text. Okay, so hold on your Alt key, select the text, then keep holding the Alt key and select the text on the next line in the description, and still keeping the Alt key, holding the Alt key, select other texts as well. That's how you select multi-text. And once you have done that, you have to the default command to open the command palette is Control Shift P. So you press Control Shift P, which would open the command palette, and type in translate selection. Now this would only be available if you have installed the extension. So make sure that you have the extension installed and click on the translate selection, and that should show up list of all the languages that are available. And from here, for this demo, we would be selecting French. So let's select French, and it just converted the text for you. So let's do the same thing for 3082, which is the Spanish localization file, and do the same thing. Hold the Alt key and then select the text. Then keeping the holding the Alt key, select the text on the next line and on the display and on the description. Then Control Shift P to open the command palette and translate selection, and then select Spanish, and there you go. It translated the text into Spanish. Now, for some reason it did not convert my character counter control. So let me try it again on my character counter control. Translate selection, Spanish, and yeah, for some reason it's not translating this particular text, and I'm not sure why, but I'll figure it out later. So let's just skip it. But that's how you translate your files easily, pretty easily. Okay, so yeah, and save both the files, and that's it. In my index.ts file, I've created two elements. One is the label, and the other one is the content of type input, and I've added them to the container. And I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm not going to write any logic around it. But what I want is, I want my label to display the text based on the localization set by the user. And this label would be nothing but what we have defined on the property as the display name. So character counter's display name is what I want to showcase in my label. Okay. And it's pretty simple. One label, one text box. That's it. We are not doing anything in it. Now, to showcase the localization on my label element, framework provides a property on the context. So ele label dot inner text or inner HTML, whatever you prefer. I'm going to go with inner HTML just in case. And I'm going to use context dot. You would see that there's a property called resources, and this is what you want to use, resources, which has two functions. One is get resources, and the other one is get string. The get resources actually gets the resource that is referenced in the manifest file, which could be any resources that are defined in the resource tag. But get string gets you the localized string, automatically identifying the text that is set by the user. So if user is using French language on their CDS environment, then the framework identifies that strings or like that localization automatically, and then gives you the string according to the files that you have added over here. So if it is French, it would give you the localization from 1036. If it is Spanish, then it would give you the localization that you have set in 3082. But the keys in all these three files are same, right? So the keys are not changing. So that's where your ID comes in play. So if you use get string in the ID, if you go to 1033 file, this is the ID that I want. And the same ID, character counter display key, is used in 1033, 1086, and as well as 3082. Same key has been used in all the files. And that goes in the get string method. And it would now get the localization from appropriate strings file and add it as the label on the control. And that's what we're going to do. So now, and that's it, right? So now let's go and test if our changes are working or not. Now the caveat is, if you're testing this in the test harness of the framework, then it would always take the last file defined on your manifest, last resx file defined on your manifest. So now in my case, I've defined 3082, which is the Spanish localization file. Then when I run the test harness, it would show me the label in Spanish. So let's do that. Okay, so as you can see, it's showing me the localization from Spanish, and this is the same text that we have defined on our 3082 file. If you go to 3082 file, you would see that it is showing us this particular text, which is from our character counter display key, and that's what we have defined on our index file, right? Character counter display key. Now, let's just close this and terminate this test harness. And let's go and prove out our theory. So I'm going to move this English file, English resource file at the end. And then I'm going to test it again. And as you can see, the text now changes to the English localization because the English localization file was the last in the control manifest file. Okay. And now the ultimate test would be actually when you deploy it to the CDS environment. So let's just deploy this to our CDS environment. After the control is deployed, I've configured the control on the account name on my account form. And as you can see, because the current language set by this particular user is English, it's showing the English label. Now let's go and change the language to French. And once you change the language, it would reload the page and everything would be now French language. And as you can see, the label is now showing the French text that we have defined in our French localization file of 1036. So this is equal to the 1036 file, which is this one. Okay. And if we change to Spanish, it should show the Spanish version. So everything is now Spanish, and we're expecting our label to show the Spanish text. So it is showing attribute del contador, and if we go to the Spanish file, it is showing us the same text that we have defined. Okay. Now, there were some issues when I first converted it. Some of the characters that you define in your localization file were causing issues. And for me specifically, it was the U that was accented U, which was causing the issue. And so just remember that sometimes you might get an error when you load the control, and that might be due to your localization files. So just be cognizant about it. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions, then leave a comment.